How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, Xander. Welcome to This and That, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Wow. Soon as we jumped on, boy, they dropped connection on TikTok. All right. I ain't worrying about that. Back to the masses. Today we're supposed to be talking about investment profits versus actual revenue received. And one of the things that I thought would be a good idea, because we were talking about assets and loans yesterday. We talked about taxes last week, Tuesday, with Joe. We got a lot of shorts up for those videos. Go back and watch them. We talked about investment capital and ways that we can invest in things where we can make and save money. Yesterday, I was touching base on yesterday's live. I was touching base on uh, ways that you can take your capital and instead of investing it in high interest loans, which will cost you more money than they're worth, and uh, applying that asset to something different like a low interest loan, or purchasing an asset that you can leverage against to get capital or working capital loans and stuff to that effect, where you can pay out of your profits, where the interest rates on a loan is lower than the average interest rates from other loan sources. I talked to you guys about how credit unions offer better interest rates with less strictness, where the membership of the credit union is part of the requirement for approval of a loan from the credit union. So typically they have minimum quantity of months and years in as a member of the credit union with a account in good standings before you could qualify for a loan from that credit union. But the fact is that each credit union, if you're holding them, if you're getting them and holding them, you got a bunch of credit unions that can aid you with your endeavor. Now, one of the things that I've also noticed, like for example, your boy told us on TikTok before that, if you have a car that you finance, you can always refinance it with your credit union. And then if you refinance it with your credit union, that you can get cheaper interest rate. You can sometimes get up to 90 days of no payments on your loan. And rightfully so, you actually can. But here's a funny thing. When you're looking at some of those tips and tricks, think about if you had multiple credit unions under your belt. Each time you pay off a car loan, the entire balance is showed as a positive paid off balance on your credit score for 10 years. If you finance a car under the dealership, within 30 days, 30 to 45 days after they get the loan set up, you refinance the car, or 60 days even, make one payment to the dealership, refinance the car under a credit union. And then the credit union now is going to give you cheaper interest rates, which means you're going to have lower monthly notes. They may push your first payment back, a month or so, which means that the first month that you had it under the dealership, you didn't have to make a payment. The second month under the dealership, you might have had to make the payment, but if you refinanced it, it paid off the loan, so you didn't have to refinance it. You might have to put a little money down with the credit union, because that's one of the things that he doesn't talk about, is that even though you might have reasonable credit until you have zero down APRs, you're looking at potentially having to put a little bit of money down to get the loan started up. But once you put a little bit of money down to get the loan started up, they refinance the loan for you, and then utilize, or if they absorb the down payment that you put down on the car, because there's equity in the car when you put a down payment down to buy it from the dealership, you could refinance the car and then push your second or third payment back another 60 days or whatever. And if you had 10 or 15 or 20 credit unions, there's a strong possibility, depending on how much the value of the car is and how often you refinance the car, you could potentially push the payment back quite a bit. But the the problem with that is that when you're doing these tips and tricks, the positive impacts on your credit score is when you pay off a loan within 7 months of having the loan. So if you get a loan from the dealership, and let's say you refinance it immediately, you hold that loan for 7 months. and then you refinance it with another credit union, and then you hold that loan for 7 months, and then you refinance it with a credit union. If in fact the money that you were supposed to be putting down on a down payment is being held to be utilized as well, no, if in fact your payments are being held and then utilized as a down payment on the next car loan, you could still be paying down the car while you're extending your payments, where you could end up like every 2 months making a $2,000 or $3,000 payment on your car. It's still a lot, but you can work your way around these things. Now, I thought that was a fantastic idea, but if you've got tough credit, you're not getting loans like that. Okay. If you got missed payments, if you missed a renewal date, you're not getting loans like that. So it's not likely that a situation is going to happen where you're going to receive more benefits from repetitively refinancing your vehicle without actually making real payments towards the vehicle. You are going to end up having to pay real payments towards the vehicle. So I thought about it and I said, well, how do you invest in ways where you can actually turn a profit from these things, where you can actually get back decent quantities of income from it without actually breaking your bank in order to get rolling? Well, one of the things that I found out was that, you actually could. Oh, I see you guys. Big shout out to Omni81 and big shout out to Red Void from Twitch. I see you guys just dove in. The thing is that when you're looking at whatever you're about to put your money on, you have to look at, I kind of mentioned this one time before, you have to look at the cost of putting your money on that. And the cost of putting your money on that is not the cost of the item. Okay. That's different. That's different. The cost of the item is going to initially be the principal amount owed, or the principal of debt owed. What I'm referring to when I say how much does it cost to put your money on the item is the service fees and transactional fees that you have to pay in order to buy the item. For example, if you buy a car, you don't just buy the car, you pay for the freight costs. People don't actually negotiate taking off the freight costs. Sometimes people just buy the car sticker price. I bought the car sticker price before. Some people negotiate and they try to take off the mud flaps and take off the floor mats, because the floor mats are $150 for same quality floor mats you can get from Walmart for $20. I mean, they upsell everything, but there's certain things that they have on the car that they can't take off, like mud flaps that are mounted to the frame, window tint, stuff like that they can't take off of the car. And because they can't take it off of the car, it comes at the price. If you want one with no window tint, you got to go get one with no window tint. They don't always put the base model on the dealership lot because they want to make money off of the car. But when you think about, well, what do I got to pay for? What do I got to put down to put my money up for this particular type of investment? Especially when you're thinking about stocks. When you're thinking about stocks, some of these trading websites, a lot of them bait you in because they don't have a investment fee. And what do I mean by that is they don't charge you to give them your money. It's free for you to give them your money. And some of them even incentivize it, where they say, hey, if you give me $1,000, I give you $100. They say, hey, we'll give you extra $500 if you invest $10,000. They give you incentives for you to give them your money. While they're holding your money, they're investing your money somewhere else and making a bunch of money off of it because they've already got a system. You're new to the game. You're trying to invest. You're trying to make it work. And like real, you're thinking that you're going to get a lot out of it. But then the truth of the matter is that the amount that you're supposed to get off of that investment doesn't actually happen. And that's what people don't really realize. Like when you look at the stock market, and the stock market sometimes has like 15-20% interest. They say after inflation, because I mean, let's be real, when you go to cut your money out of there, they're charging for the buy, they're charging for the sell. So that money comes out of the difference of what you had when you put your money on the investment versus what you have when you get your money back off of the investment still in the account. Then there's a withdrawal fee. Every trading platform has one. Not too many people pay attention to it. Or a wire transfer fee. They have one of those as well. A lot of companies will waive the wire transfer fee to transfer the money in as an ACH payment, but then they will do a wire transfer fee to wire the money out. Wire transfer fees can be a percentage of the amount or a fixed amount. Sometimes the wire transfer fee outbound is $65. Some banks do $35. Some banks do way more than that. Some of them do a percentage. The amount of money it takes for you to grab hold in your hand, the amount of money that you recovered from your investment, that is allegedly the cost of doing business. And they say, well, at least I made such and such and such. When you're trying to invest effectively, one of the things that you have to do, you have to remember that when you're putting your money on something, you have to be able to know how much it costs to put your money there and how much it costs to get your money back. How much money do you have to make effectively to be able to say that you made a profit? I did this example, one of these examples yesterday when I was talking to you guys about the ability to invest a certain quantity of money into a stock or a bond or a Bitcoin or whatever. You put it on one of these trading platforms. You put the money up there. Let's say you get like $200-300 worth of interest, right? You understand that you're going to get taxed on the $200-300 worth of interest. So if they're charging you like $24 worth of tax or $30 worth of taxes for the $200 or $300 worth of interest, which is actually less than what they would actually charge, because they charge somewhere between like 20 and 30% of interest on investments right now. But I think Trump is going to try to bring it down to like 21%, somewhere in that area. Can't quote me on that. Go read Project 2025. It'll tell you what it is. But the fact is that the thing will give you or take from you roughly around 20%. If you made like $300 and they're taking $20 out of every $100, they're taking $60 out of your $300, you got $240. But you got to understand that when you look at your withdrawal, if you're dealing with an account like my buddy is doing this thing on a real estate website where he's trying to invest in stock, they will charge him 6% to withdraw the money from the account within 12 months of his last deposit. So he's like, oh, well, they're only going to charge me 6% for the first 12 months. And I'm like, no, that's not what it says. What it says is that if you put a deposit into the bank, they will charge you 6% if you withdraw that amount before 12 months. But if you keep putting the same amount of money in there for the whole 12 months, that does not mean that on month 12 that all of your money can be taken out with no penalty. That means that the first installment that you made 12 months ago might not have a penalty, but the one that was done 11 months ago has a penalty. The one that was done 5 months ago has a penalty. The one that was done last month has a penalty. Then your interest also has a penalty because only your initial principal invested 12 months ago or more will not receive the 6%. So if you're putting $500 a month into the account, out of $5,000 that you put in there in 10 months, on month 12, only 500 of it will not be hit with interest rates. The other 9,500 of it would be hit with the 6%. If you had $240 left of interest, right, that added to your 10,000, now you're taking what's left because you know that you're going to get taxed on this. And this is funny. The taxes, the $60 worth of taxes that you got to pay the U.S. government, they don't take it out of their website. They take it out of your pocket. So you're still going to withdraw the $300. You just owe Uncle Sam 60, right? So you take out the $10,300. They're going to take 6% of the $10,300. Now, that's what I was trying to tell you guys before. Now, if they're taking 6% of the, because they didn't say 6% of the interest, they said 6% of the money on the account. Now, they're taking 6% of the money on the account. If you gain $300 of interest and you withdraw $1,000, they're taking 6% of $1,000, right? So if there's a $10,000 investment, you want to cash out, you got $300 profit, you want to cash out on $10,000, they're taking 6% of $10,000. What is 6% of $10,000? Or 6% of $10,340? Or yeah, $10,300. What they would take, 10% of $10,300, right? Now, $10,300 is approximately $600. Now you made a $300 profit. once they taxed you 6% on the $10,300 that you're taking out, and that's just the 10,000 is a $600 profit, right? So that means that you paid the platform 600, so you actually took a $300 loss. In order for you to break even, your $10,000 would have to make $600 of profit before you withdrew, so that you would withdraw $10,000 after so many months of investment. Now, when I was talking to my buddy about this, he was like, hey, I'll just put my money up there, see what it does, see what it does, see what it does. And I'm looking at him like, bro, that's no. Like, you would do better putting your money into a high interest yield checking account, letting it sit there for a while, build up interest while you're figuring things out with your tax liens. Because if you're gonna invest in something that's gonna take a bunch of money out of your pocket, why not invest into some tax lien? I was telling them ways. I was like, hey, go get $50, go get some stuff from the county. They'll tell you all the people that still owes money on taxes. Call those people up, get a hold of somebody on the phone, get one of them to commit to a contract. You put yourself into a contract, you front on the money for the thing, you put a lien up on a house. They're going to pay the costs and expenses for all of that stuff. You're going to have monthly payments. They're going to reimburse you the money. You're going to make profits off of that. And the money you get back only becomes taxable when the money you get back exceeds the money that you loaned out, just like a loan agency, just like a short-term loan agency. The only difference is that instead of you charging the 18% that the U.S. government wants you to pay, if you want to be enticing to them, you're like, hey, I might throw like 5 or 10%, which is less than what the government's going to charge you. I'll cover this, and this, and then you give me, 10%. Shark that. But think about it. If you put up 10 grand and you're getting 10% of that, and that's not investment stock. Well, technically it is investment stock. It's not like Bitcoin stock or nothing like that. You're not going to have that withdrawal fee because they're going to mail you a check or direct deposit to your business bank account. And your bank is not going to charge you money to cash a check. AMP's got to charge you money to cash a check. Walmart will charge you a bunch of money to cash a check. And Walmart is limited with how much money they're willing to cash. So, you got to think about that. Then you have the idea and understanding that the money that you get from this, if you pay taxes, because if you're doing this from a business, you have to understand that your business is going to be generating debt. Well, if your business is investing in a bunch of stuff, even if you did make a profit on some stuff, you took a financial loss on some other stuff, you're still not paying taxes on it. But that 10%, you put up 10,000, you got back 1,000. That's like reasonable. As opposed to the other situation that we talked about, where if you put up 10,000 and you get back no 1,000. Here we go. L Beast is here. I'm late to your discussion. Actually, no, I actually started about 20 minutes ago. So you may have already discussed this. Using the named broker should only cost 1%. Invest should be for 12 months. Exactly. See? Using a named broker. Now, I actually wasn't talking about brokers. I was talking about which that's fantastic. If you get a broker, that's a smart move. I actually encourage brokers because brokers will put in the effort to put your money where it needs to go. Brokers will actually help you with angel investors to invest in your business, because if you put up shares for your business and give it to a broker, the broker gets paid only when they get investments for your business. So once you agree on the broker fee and then the broker gets paid, or the broker is going to get paid, the broker will put in effort to get money back to your business. Once they get money back to your business, they get a cut. So you get whatever's left over. You're entitled to pay the investor the full amount of what they gave to the broker with interest, but now you got a bunch of investment capital that you don't got to go hunt for. Fantastic idea, L Beast. I'm glad that you said that. Same broker for 35 years. Look at that, 36 years. You're beast. I got to yeah. But what I was talking about was that a buddy of mine wants to use one of these apps that you invest in, because everybody makes an app for everything these days. And some of them are real estate apps. They're offering the sweet deal where if you give them money for 12 months, that they'll give you 20% interest on the money. And then the fine print, because I kept telling them, I said, before you start doing it, look at the fine print. And he looked at the fine print, and I was like, look at how much they're charging you to get your money back. And it says that it's going to take 6% to withdraw the money off the platform. So they're going to take his money. It's free upload. And a lot of platforms do the free upload thing. Like, we're not going to charge you money to add money to the platform, but we're going to charge you a service fee to take the money off of the platform. That's how they get paid. Now, they give you the money. They give you the ability to put it up there. Some of them incentivize it, especially if there's like a lot of losses there, or if they're going to make a lot of transactional profits. So they'll say, oh, we'll give you like $300 to $500 worth of, transactional money if you decide that you're going to do like $10,000 or $20,000 worth of uploads, because you're giving them your money. They're going to give you credit for it. You're going to use it on the website, but you're giving them your money. And then they're going to take your money and they're going to reinvest your money somewhere else while you're taking the value of your money and playing around with their website. Now, if in the event that you turn over a decent quantity of money, you're turning over a decent quantity of money. But I said, for example, you put up $10,000 on one of these websites, and when you invest the money on one of these websites, and then you make a certain quantity of money, like let's say, for example, you made like $600 worth of profits on this investment over a short period of time. The U.S. government is going to tax you on that $400 amount of money because people are reporting anything over $10 to the IRS. So you're going to have to pay taxes on that $600. They're not going to take the taxes from the investment. They're going to take the taxes from you. So when you claim the asset, you got to give Uncle Sam there somewhere around 20% or whatever, right? Now, I said, if the website's going to charge you 6% to take your money back, they're not charging you 10% on the interest. They're charging you 10% on the total amount withdrawn. If you decided, I made enough money off of this investment situation, I want to take all my money out of the account, they're going to tax you 6% of the $10,000. Well, if you take the whole $10,600 out of the account, they're going to tax you on the whole $10,600. 6% of the $10,000 is $600. So you're actually going to be at a financial loss, even though you gained interest on the platform. Uncle Sam's going to tax you on interest on the platform, but you still came back with less than $10,000. That's why you hold for long-term gains. Yes, you do. And that's another thing. That's what I was saying. Read the fine print, because you have the difference between short-term gains and quick money versus long-term gains and slow money. But you also have the difference between tax deferments on long-term gains, and you also have the difference between tax exemptions on certain long-term gains, especially with their government related. And there's limited ones that have that, but they do have those options. You have businesses that have treasury bonds and stuff like that they do, where equivalent to like Jenny Mays and stuff like that, where you can invest in these things, and then over time they'll give you certain types of opportunities where you get non-taxable income, especially since you're using your Roth IRAs and 401ks to invest in this situation. There's a lot of ways that you can go around not having to deal with some costs for withdrawing your money. But there are some websites that still charge you the withdrawal fee in addition to transaction fees. And because a lot more people are trading with apps, and they're self-trading instead of paying brokers, instead of paying accountants. They have individuals that are like amateur, novice at best, and they're doing little small, low risk or moderate risk trades with fractional trading, because they're not actually paying the full amount into the stock, because they can't really freaking afford that amount. But if they could put up 10% of the value of that stock, they can get 10% of the value of the interest increase. It's this fractional trading. So they get on these little apps and think, oh yeah, Acorn and Stash and all these other places where I can put my money in the app, and the app itself will generate a certain quantity of revenue that is more than what I thought that I would have been able to acquire, and then I'm satisfied. Well, when you go to take your money out of there, you still got to pay a fee. Sometimes when you're dealing with CDs, when you're dealing with treasury bonds, when you're dealing with contractual investments that say that there is a early termination fee, then you can wait the long haul, and then after the investment matures, you are entitled to get the money back with the full quantity of interest and whatever tax breaks that you get off of that value. If you need the money sooner, or for some reason decide for you to cash out sooner than the expected hold time, there are what's called penalties. That's what you're referring to right now. You're talking about, well, don't do short term because short term has early termination fees. I'm not talking about early termination fees. You are correct. What I am talking about is those apps like I said, Bitcoin, Coinbase. They got a lot of other apps, Pionex, Lambda. They got a lot of investment apps where it's free to add your money up there. But just like Cash App and PayPal, and they charge you a 0.3% and other such service fee to get your money back. But the value is on the money that you're taking off of the account, not solely based on the interest gain, not solely on the principal. It's on the amount of money that you're getting back. And if you don't pay attention to the contract, because a lot of us download apps, and when we download the app, we don't read nothing. We just click the button and then we just start doing stuff. And then when we try to get the money back, then we get there and say, oh, I got some money back. And if we got back more money than what we put up, we don't really care about the service fee. But if you read that fine print, you can see, oh, yeah, that's not as profitable as I had thought. And you got some that'll trick you because it's advertisement. They say, hey, join our membership, pay $15 a month, and then we'll give you like 6% interest on your thing, or 4.5 or 6.8% interest, which is some of the highest in the nation. But if you're paying almost $15, $20 a month, by the time you get to the end of the year, you're almost at like $35, $40, $50 out of the year, or more, $200, $300, $400 out of the year, especially when you're doing $20 a month for 12 months. You hit $200 at 10 months, $224. And then let's say that you got $230 for the year, or $300 for the year based on their interest rate. The service fee costs 85% of the total quantity of interest you got from their membership. So you didn't get 4.5 or 5% interest. You actually really got like 0.6% interest, 0.29% interest, because the difference between what you got versus what your values gained was not the same because of their service fee. And that's why I say we got to pay attention to our service fee. The revenue received is the amount that you get back. The amount of investment profits that you gained is the amount of increase on the value of the stock that you invested in. The money you're getting back is not necessarily going to be the same amount of money that you earned, because there is a cost between what you earned and how you get it. And that's the part that bites you in the ass if you're not reading the fine print. Now, LB says, I like someone to challenge me on my investment choices. My broker has access to data I can't get to. I like a robust decision. I definitely understand that. Uh, uh, what are you looking for as far as your choices? Because I mean, there are a lot of companies that have a lot of value. What are you investing in companies? Are you investing in renewable resources, crude oils, gold, silvers? Like what kind of stuff are you really investing in? Cryptocurrencies, life insurance policies? Are you investing in old people dying? Like, what are you investing in? Like what is your niche for investments? Because some people actually invest in debt. Some people invest in debt. It's a very high risk thing to invest in, but when you invest in people's debt, you can charge larger interest rates. Uh, uh, I was talking yesterday about how short-term loans can charge you in some states as much as 300 to 600% interest, because they're able to charge you, instead of the annual interest percentage rate of 29.95% per year, they can actually charge you that 29.9 something percent per month, and because it's a short-term loan. And then you would ultimately end up paying them a total of 300 or so per year, which means that you would be paying way more, 6 times more than the value that you actually borrow. So some people actually invest in debt, and because it's a high risk situation, the interest rates are high, but the profit margin is there. So if you put your money down and this person pays you back, you're getting back 3 to 6 times more than what you gave them just to loan them money to bail them out of a bad spot. But a lot of people who are in debt will borrow money from somebody else because they're in debt, try to float their negative situation just a little bit longer, and then shortly after that, they just let everything go to waste, including the person they borrowed money from. And that's when the person that loaned the money ends up being out of money. Investments are a risk. But that's why when I said if you're investing, and when you jumped in, you were talking about a broker only does 1%. I was talking about with the tax liens, because tax liens sometimes, depending on the state, could be somewhere around 18% through the government. But if you go to the property owner and you offer to give them the value of however much taxes that their property is going to own, maybe an extra year or so, you get it into a contract, you're loaning them money, and then they're going to pay the IRS back, and they're going to be good. Then they owe you money for a cash loan, which is a little bit different than you waiting on the U.S. government to take action on somebody's foreclosure. You can still put the lien on the property and all this other stuff, but now you can negotiate, say, hey, I'll give you X number of dollars. I'll solve your problem, but you got to give me a certain quantity of money interest. But if your interest rates that you're offering is less than the interest rates that the IRS is going to charge, or the state, the county or city or state that they're in is going to charge them for late fees, you actually can bail them out of a bad spot, keep them from losing their house in foreclosure due to unpaid taxes. And then the monthly payments could potentially be reasonable for them, where they would agree to pay you. And in that situation, you would have put up $3, $5, $10,000. You're getting back 10% interest from a person directly. So you're more guaranteed, because, oh yeah, it's easier for me to pay, $250 a month to you than it is for me to give the U.S. government $2,000 today so that they don't take my house next month. See what I'm saying? That's also for those of you that are real estate investors and you're going into, you decide to buy somebody's debt going into foreclosure. They're going into foreclosure for unpaid debt. If you go into that, if you contact the homeowner and say, hey, I'll take that foreclosure, I'll pay that debt so that they don't take your house, that'll close your case, keep you from losing the house. You just got to pay me X number of dollars plus interest. You no longer owe them, you owe me now. Basically refinance them. The contract is actionable for the length of the contract. It's just that you can only have a negative account with them for up to 7 to 10 years, depending on the state. And it's no longer, well, some states are 3 to 5 years, and then it's no longer actionable. The default account is no longer actionable. But if you take over the debt, the house isn't foreclosed on, which prevents the value of the house from depreciating, which allows you to get you a client that's going to now pay you for the house that they're already living in. And then if they end up not paying you, you can foreclose on them and you can kick them out. You can keep the house because the house is yours now, because you've got the title, because you bought the title from the broker or the title holder, whoever had it, to bail them out of their situation. So if they don't do what they're supposed to do, the house is yours. And then you can flip it, sell it, rent it out, whatever you want to do. But picking up a foreclosure, you could pick up a foreclosure that's for sale. Contact the former owner and say, hey, I got your house back. You want to rent it out from me? I can do you a rent to own contract. Bro, they call them tax deeds. Not tax deeds, title title loans or title deeds is what they're calling them. I can't remember the exact terminology of it, but what it is, usually it's a 10-year contract where it's a contingent contract where they will make monthly payments on the property, renting the property from you for the value of the property. And then once they finish paying off the full value of the property, you give them the deed. But in that contract, you can have rental rights where you have to maintain a property and they just got to pay you the money for the house until they own the house, and then they have to maintain a property. Or you can give them value, you can make them responsible for the property and they pay you whatever they're going to pay you, because it's technically their house. They're just going to pay you for the debt, and then after they pay you the debt, you give them the title loan. They can always remortgage the house and then buy you out so that they don't owe you any more money. But either way it goes, you can get your money with interest off of that. There's still a risk because there's still bankruptcy, there's still foreclosure. But the fact of the matter is that there's other ways to get yourself some money, but you're not utilizing those websites that are going to take cash out of your pocket in order for you to get paid from the investments that you made. That's what I was talking about. Now, LB says you're right. It's mandatory. You have to understand your personal risk tolerance. He ain't lying about that. And that's why I read that slow for y'all now. Are you venture capitalist level or a U.S. Treasury bond level? That's actually a good capital. That's a good question, because there's a difference between a venture capitalist level versus U.S. Treasury level. Because I mean, you can do U.S. Treasury bonds allow you to put up to $10,000 per bond per year, and you can do multiple of those depending on if you're going to do one for yourself and one for people that you know, one for each one of the businesses you have under your name, for your dog, for your an inheritance, a trust. You can put a bunch of them up there. The named person that the trust is for supposed to be for, the treasury bond is supposed to be for, actually receives the dividends. And if you take all of those ownerships and put them under an umbrella ownership, then that umbrella ownership can actually receive the dividends from that investment, and then that can go to a bank account that gets paid off to the beneficiary of that particular umbrella investment. It's a spider web of things that you can utilize, but it's limited with investments. Venture capitalist level, you're dealing with people that are able to put up a few $100,000 to $1 million into something, with the expectation that if they gained, 10 to 18 or 20% interest on that, they're making a couple $100,000 on that particular transaction, and they're not even expecting to get that money inside of the first year. They're expecting to get that money over a lifetime. And some people, because they're continuously getting paid on the investment, are expecting to claim the tax deductions of that investment while they're turning profits on the interest, on the dividends provided to them from that investment. Venture capitalists don't just go in and say, "Oh, I want 10 or 20% shares of the company." They say, "I want the deductions off the company." They say, I want like votership, voters' rights, uh, uh, primary distribution of dividends. You know what I'm saying? They say all kinds of things, and some of them are silent partners. Some of them will throw a bunch of money at a really good idea so that you put in the work and they get the money for it. And some of them say that this is a multi-million dollar business. You are sitting on a gold mine and don't even know it. I want 60%. I'll give you 100% funding, but I want 60%. Soon as they get 1% more than 50% ownership, they own your business. They can vote you out. They can vote you out of your own business. The venture capitalists can do what is called a hostile takeover, when the majority shareholders votes out the owner of the company, when you get fired from your own business that you started up from the ground up. And that's why I say while getting investments is good, when you're receiving those investments from people so that you can invest their money into something else and make more money, make money for yourself. When you're giving them controlling shares of your company to get that money, you are risking losing your entire business. The idea when you're doing percentage ownership, you want to maintain more than 50% of the voters' rights and 50% of the owner's rights of the business. You want to maintain more than that, because the average business typically requires 50% plus one votes, just like the US government with elections, to determine what happens with the business. So if somebody has a majority share over your business, you could get messed over, and then you will be mad because your multi-million dollar idea, they might offer you a couple $1 million on, knowing that they're going to get $20 million on the back end after they handed you $2 million and told you to kick rocks. And in today's society, where the standard of living for a reasonable family is starting to get closer to $100,000 a year, a couple $1 million might last you 20 years if you don't pay taxes on it. But if you pay taxes on it, they're going to take half the money. You're only going to have $1 million left, and that $1 million is only going to last you for 10 years if you don't invest it. And you still got 30, 40, 50 years of life left. So now you got to go find you another job. You got to find something else to do. You got to create you another invention. You got to get you another patent. Like, so you really do not want to invest in something that is not going to benefit you in the long term. So you got to look at that's, again, just like LB said, you got to look at those contracts. You got to look at the tolerance level of your risk assessment, because if in the event that they're offering you a dreamboat worth of money for this particular thing that you're trying to do, that's somewhere in the very, very small fine print. So you want to read this thing with a magnifying glass, that the very, very, very small fine print might say that you are surrendering your authority over your project, over your company, over your invention. And now you go from being the owner of it to being an employee of it. And then they fire you and you lose everything you got. So LB says, beware, watch for the snake oil salesman in the venture capitalist area. I watch for friends lose over 100,000 in a weekend. Literally. Wow. LB said that his friends has lost over $100,000 in a weekend. And that's one of the volatile sides of investing in anything. Because I mean, you can invest in something you think is safe, like Bitcoin, and if you invest in the wrong time of year, you're in a. Anybody who threw their money in when it was at 73,000, it is not 60,000 right now. You just took a huge dip in your investment. Anybody who invested in it back when it was at 20 or 30 and it's now at 60 something thousand, you're still good. But anybody who invested in it when it was higher and now it's lower than your initial investment, you are taking a monetary loss until it goes back up. And since it is continuing to go down up until around May or June or something like that, yeah, somewhere between April and June, you're not even going to be able to say that you're going to leave it there for a long term and that the value is going to go up over time. The fluctuation on that bad boy is going to just and you're going to end up at a negative. You're going to put in 70 grand and you're going to walk out with 20 grand. Somebody's got to lose something in order for somebody to gain something. B said they thought they could handle the loss and they were wrong. Well, okay, now everybody thinks it's gonna be okay. Don't worry, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna it ain't never okay. It ain't never okay. I'm retired. They aren't. Hey, you ain't got nothing extra going for you. There ain't no reason for you to go in on that because if you put your money up, that's your retirement money. If the money gets lost, you don't have any more money. You, the one of the things that some of the young bucks do and the unknowledgeable people do, they put all their money on a surefire thing. They put all their money on Santa's Little Helper. You know what I'm saying? Like $1 million on Santa's Little Helper. Then when Santa's Little Helper don't win, now loan sharks come to break lakes. You can't do that. You can't put all of your money on a surefire thing. What you should be doing is spreading your money around to a bunch of moderately reasonable fire things that are going to, for the most part, give you a little bit of an increase with a very, very, very low chance of going anything below breaking even. And when you have a situation where you like, we do the index 500s, stuff to that effect, that the treasury bonds and stuff that Beast was talking about. If we're doing stuff like that, where it's a 20-year wait period, you throw your money down, and over time you might get a couple $1 million off of that. Some of it might even be tax free, but the fact is that is semi-guaranteed slow money, as opposed to trying to get 100 grand off of Bitcoin in a month. That is high risk, fast money. Fast money, you're going to lose it. You throw up 100 grand and you can lose that at the casino. You could throw up 100 grand at the casino and come back with $1 million in less than 2 hours. You could go to the casino with $10,000 on a hot night and walk out of there with $10 million, and never go back to the casino again. Like, really and truly, it is what it is. But you have to realize, though, the high stakes in that is that you could lose everything and owe more than what you walked in the door with, versus certain situations where you're not really getting that much, but you have really nothing to lose. And that's why I say, you got to really look at it. So just like B said, check your tolerance levels. And your tolerance levels, what is your tolerance levels? It is not the level of indigestion that you get when you start seeing the market crash. That is not your tolerance level. It is not the level of constipation that you experience when you see the market rise. It is not the level of diarrhea that happens when you see the market tank right after that rise. That is not your tolerance level. Your tolerance level is the amount of money that you are able to lose without being negatively impacted by that with your daily standard of living. That's your tolerance level. The amount of money that you can say, hey, it's all right, you can have it. I don't need it. That's your tolerance level. When you start saying, man, if I lose this, I ain't got my child's tuition. Man, if I lose this, I can't pay for the wedding. Man, if I lose this, I can't pay for the house. That is not inside of your tolerance level, and that money should not be getting spent. But a lot of people do it. A lot of people do it. So you got to really be careful with where you're putting your money and how you're putting your money there. You got to be able to budget it. And that's one of the reasons why I was telling people before. I was saying, hey, look, if you take your money, you got all of these checking accounts. They're not doing it to the savings accounts. They're doing it to the checking accounts. There's over 8,000 financial institutions in the country, and I keep reminding y'all that. Like 4,000 plus of them are bank accounts or actual banks, and 4,000 plus of them are credit unions. I say put your money down up to $500 into some of these accounts. They're giving you 5% guaranteed interest regardless of inflation. You could put your money in there, let each one of those big accounts gain interest. You could take the interest off of that. You could put that money into stocks and bonds. You're taking profits and investing it into stocks, even if it's secured stocks. You could take profits, invested it into stocks over the long run. If you need emergency funds, instead of having to cash out on your stocks that has early termination fees, you could just withdraw the money out of those checking accounts and then go take care of your emergency. Just start putting money back into those checking accounts until you get the money back. And that would be a very good way to keep your money spread around. And if you have multiple credit unions, like I was telling you earlier, if you did finance something and then you needed to refinance it, if you have 32 credit unions, you could just go to one of them and refinance your vehicle. If you're going to be one of those guys that's just going to keep refinancing the same vehicle, you could refinance it with a different credit union each time. And as long as you've got whatever they're asking for, whatever down payment that you're going to do, they're going to refinance your vehicle. Each time you pay it off, it is a good standings on your credit report if there's a 7-month long payment history on it, which means you could really boost your credit. You could refinance your car 8 times in 8 years and get 8 different $20,000 payoffs on your credit score and boost your credit score up by a lot because you're paying off all of your debts. But it's not going to get you a black car. It's just going to allow you to buy another car with no questions asked because you pay off all of your debts. Dealership's not going to be stickler because you pay off all of your debts. You don't owe nobody nothing as far as cars are concerned. But any opportunities that can be afforded to you by a credit union that's not afforded to non-members of a credit union, it would benefit you to get 200 or 300 credit unions under your belt and alongside 200 or 300 bank accounts under your belt, so that if one of the financial institutions decides to do something that pisses you off, you can close down your account and you're not negatively impacted by that. The only account that you don't want to make purchases on is the account that receives all the direct deposit from wherever you're getting your direct deposits from. That way you don't have to close that account and redirect your direct deposits to something else. Wherever your incoming money comes into, that account you don't make purchases from, and every other account that isn't impacted by your direct deposits is able to do outgoing transactions. So if you got to have 2 checking accounts, one to receive direct deposits and one to make purchases from, you got to have 2 separate checking accounts. But if you have different banks where one is receiving direct deposits and the other ones are just receiving you putting cash into them, and if one of them you don't like what they did because you was buying something and they won't dispute it, you can just close down that account, take all your money out of it, and go to one of the other 150 bank systems that you have. And that prevents you from being at the mercy of a bank that won't cooperate with you. But that's just one way to go about doing things. You can also put your money into different areas where you can invest. LB says, I need to do research on crypto. We have none. I was always taught to invest in real companies, not speculative. I have no idea is I'm missing out or kids told us to buy crypto in 2010. You are definitely missing out. You are definitely missing out because I talk about crypto on a regular basis because back in 2023, March and April of 2023, cryptocurrency is a stock. You get your crypto wallet. You can buy and sell crypto, trade crypto. If you would have held the stock, some people use trade bots like Pionex to do trade bots where they buy and sell as the market fluctuates because it's such a high volatile market. But you do get a residual interest rate from the Bitcoin platform just for holding the base value of the cryptocurrency. So you don't necessarily have to trade. You could put it in there, leave it in there, and don't mess with it like a savings account, and you get high interest back off of leaving your money in there if you're leaving a large enough quantity of money in there. But if you want to trade against the market and increase your revenue quicker in microtransactions, you can do that and then get more money back. When Bitcoin was picked up at $20,000, almost a year and a half ago, almost a full year and a half ago, come December, it was at $20,000. At the end of September, over a month ago, it was at $74,000. Anybody who picked up a Bitcoin when a Bitcoin was valued at $20,000, even if they held it and didn't do nothing to it, 18 months later, they got 50 grand. Not too many stocks that you can invest in can say that in 18 months, without making any transactions, you just put it in there and left it in there. And then I think second or third week of September, it was at 50 grand more than what it was when you started, 53 grand more than what you started. That's massive. That's massive. When you think about CDs, where you just put your money there and leave it there and don't do nothing to it, and you get like 10% interest, 5% interest, you got some that are reckless and they might offer you like 14% interest. Woo! If you leave it there for 20 years. But Bitcoin, you put your money there in Bitcoin and they didn't mess with it for 18 months. And that sum gun went from 20 G's to 73 G's. Now, if you took your 50 G's out and said, nah, that's all right, y'all can hold on to that 20 G's. You took your 50 G's out, it's fluctuating. Your 20 G's is earning stats, but you would have took that 50 G's and put it back in between April and June, when Bitcoin went back down to 40,000. And then you would be buying, because you just picked up 50 G's, so you'll be waiting just 5 or 6 months and then put that 50 G's back in there, where you're buying 2 more Bitcoins, 1 or 2 more Bitcoins. You already got 20 bands in there. You're about to put 50 more bands in there. And then that money, when it gains that $30,000 of interest on each one of those coins, you're now gaining like $60,000, $70,000 worth of interest on your money, where they're projecting that Bitcoin typically produces about an 80% return annually. If you invest when the market is down and withdraw when the money is up, you could get 80% return. So for every $100,000 that you put in there, when the market is down, when the market is hot, you ended up with $180,000 in less than a year, every year. And if you and smart people put their money in at the end of the year and then take their money out and spend it throughout the year. They put a large quantity of it in there in the lowest part of the year, and then they put the rest of it back in there before the end of Q4, so that they don't have to pay taxes on it for the beginning of 2025 or 2026 or whatever, the beginning of the new year. So you said, oh, I misunderstand what I missed. Oh, I understand what I missed. It's a flashback to the 80s when I bought Pixar on opening day. Yeah, actually, it was before that. Remember when bottled water first came out? Whoever would have invested in bottled water when bottled water first came out, billionaire right now. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of stuff. Like, you didn't really think that it was worth it when it first started happening. But if you would have been one of the first ones that got in on it when it wasn't worth $5,000, now that the value of it is way up there at like 70 grand, you'd be sitting over there on a whole lot of. Each coin was worth $5,000 at one point in time. And now each coin is worth like 60,000 or 58,000 each. So that $5,000 coin from several years ago before COVID is now 10 times more than what it was when people was first buying into it way back when. And if you are one of those people who put up 5 bands and now that 5 bands is at 50 grand, you just got 45 grand of profit. If you're one of those people who's seen it at 5 grand and bought 10 of them and you put up 50 grand, you got 10 5 grand Bitcoins that's at 50 grand a piece. So you got 10 50 grand Bitcoins, you got 500 grand off of 50 grand. You just made 10 times more profit over that time span off of that amount of money just by putting it there and leaving it there. Long-term investment. When people were running from the stock market because of COVID, I ain't had that kind of money to throw in there. But if I would have had the kind of money to throw in there, I would have a podcast doing a podcast on me right now, because it'd be So much money happened in one time. How did you become a millionaire overnight? I did what everybody else didn't want to do. I invested and left it there. I didn't run. That's what I would be doing. But that's one of the things that I thought was very entertaining. I thought it was fun to look at that a lot of people are only doing one type of trading, and that's why I say that you want to expand your portfolio. You don't want to put all your money into one location. I'm not going to say that investing in real companies is a bad thing. I think that's a fantastic thing. You got some real companies that are cash investments, meaning that you put your money up there and it gives you dividends every month. You want to put your money into some real companies that are going to give you a guaranteed payout every month so that you've got a standard of living. You want to put your money into some uh, 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 future investments, some that are going to grow, like Tesla, where you're going to make more money in the long term. You don't want to die before you start getting good money, but you want to be able to make sure that over time, as you get older, that you have larger investments coming back when you get older, especially when you overshadow the age where you're required to pay taxes. You want to be able to make sure that when you get that age, you want to be able to start getting a bunch of money back. But then pay attention to cryptocurrency. NFTs, not worth it, but cryptocurrency, definitely. The United States was talking about all of their money going digital 5 years ago. They didn't say they were going to do it 5 years ago. They were talking about doing it 5 years ago. There was a thing called rainbow currency. Do some research on rainbow currency. They were supposed to be talking about a globalized, unified digital currency, cryptocurrency, that was going to replace all currencies. I feel like that's going to be a hard thing for them to accomplish in the next 30 years because they just came out with a new currency called BRICS. 5 different countries came together and like the euro, and they came up with a currency over in the Middle East that is going to go up against the euro and the US dollar. Um, and that means that you're going to have 3 dominant sources of currency in the world, which is pretty beast. Reduces currency exchange, but you have to think about the fact that everything is going digital. So paper money is becoming obsolete as time goes on. Might happen in the next 20 years, might happen in the next 65 years. But if you are young enough right now, cryptocurrency is being utilized as a stock option, but it was created as a money. It was a currency that was supposed to be utilized for microtransactions, micro uh, 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 purchases. So, which also help almost like PayPal to keep you from being robbed. But the fact is that you can make money off of it as a stock right now. And then, as old as you think you are, them stocks can put money into your pocket where you can actually travel with it because there is no currency exchange value for Bitcoin in other countries. The difference between the US dollar and the yuan or the yen is the value on the stock market, but the value of Bitcoin in the United States is the same value of Bitcoin in Russia. So you could just go there and be like, crypto purchase, good to go. He said, LB said, I'm old. I'm not sure if I should speculate, maybe leave that to the kids. I'd throw a couple thousand down on it. I ain't leaving everything to the kids. Why the kids get to have all the fun? Kids ain't gotta. He said USD is the only way NATO can impact communist countries. USD is critical to world peace. Oh, keep in mind though, that they're not saying that they're doing away with USD. They're not saying that the United States wasn't going to control the currency. The rainbow currency was coming from the United States. It's just that everybody was going to respect that as the only currency. That's what the conversation was. It wasn't that they were going to say United States ain't going to have money no more. They were saying that United States was going to control everybody's money. That's what they was talking about. That was a completely different conversation. And far be it for the United States to surrender control of anything. That was not, no, they did not say that. They're like, nope, nope, nope. We got the rainbow currency and everybody's going to use it is the conversation that was happening. But a lot like Star Trek, where they didn't have a currency exchange. It was actually funny. Star Trek, if you remember that back in the 70s, you noticed that nobody bought anything. Nobody got paid. Nobody was standing in an unemployment line. Nobody asked for money or had to take out a loan or got enlisted because they had a debt. They didn't really have to have locked doors because everybody had a standardized uniform and their stuff was limited to primary necessities. They didn't have extra things to be taken from them, nothing lavish or gaudy looking. Did you notice that? Did you notice that Star Trek was the fundamental example of the communist model? Now, this is a U.S. television show now, and this is the old Captain Kirk. This is Captain Kirk way back in the day. This is back with Mr. Spock and them. This is way back in the day. This was the original Enterprise when the green aliens and everybody was Captain Kirk's baby mama kind of stuff. This is way back in the day. Now, I ain't talking about Captain Picard because him too. I'm not talking about Janeway and them. I'm not talking about the next generation. I'm talking about and one that they ain't have when Whoopi Goldberg didn't have them big old chocolate black lips back in the day when what I'm saying. She was the person in the cafeteria. They ain't had no money. Ain't nobody needed no money. It's gonna end up being localized. Every world central bank is critical to suppressing communist countries. And you already know that US is trying to suppress every country. Can you name me right now a populated country that does not have US soldiers in it besides North Korea? And technically, the fact that they're in South Korea emphasizes the fact that they're in Korea. Can you name a country that the US doesn't have troops in? Because I can't think of any. I don't even believe that they got troops going somewhere that is on vacation. I know they got soldiers everywhere. They take their AR-15s on a honeymoon and stuff. I know they got. I'm a big fan of Star Trek. I'm a big fan of Star Trek. The telecom where they talk into their shirt, and now the CIA got the little button on their shirt and they talking to their shirt. Hey, they almost there. They had the little communicator where they just kind of flip it up. Wasn't that the one of the first Sony flip phones? You know what I'm saying? When they had the put them up on the main screen, Captain, and they had that 200-inch plasma TV, the projector, holograms. Look now, everything they had on Star Trek, we got almost everything right now except for transporter. Ain't nobody beaming themselves up to the welfare office so that they can get their food stamps on the first of the month. So that's what made me go into computer science. Exactly. But if you understand that foreshadowing is what happened back in the early 50s, 60s, 70s, television used to display information through entertainment, and foreshadowing was done through entertainment. So if you wanted to know what kind of changes was being made in your country, watch TV. You didn't just watch the news. The news told you when people made mistakes. But when you watch TV, the stuff they talking about, the stuff they joking about on the TV shows, the stuff that the cartoons is acting funny about, where you think cartoons are for kids. If you remember, the Animaniacs was teaching us all about GMOs and MSGs before people started saying, hey, this stuff is bad. Animaniacs would sit there and do a 15-minute cartoon telling you the ingredients in some of the canned goods on the shelf at the grocery store and what those carbohydrates and everything meant. Kids was smart because they read comic books. kids right now don't have the knowledge that we used to have back in the day because they don't read comic books. Comic books had knowledge in them. So when you look at all of the stuff that happened in Star Trek and look at how it's happening right now today, and yeah, that took like 70 years for us to catch up to Star Trek. They had no currency. Why did they have no currency? Because first they had to have a singular currency. Then they have to decide that there was no need for the singular currency. We all working together for the same good anyway. We all trying to do the same thing. We trying to do space travel. I give you what you need if you do what I need you to do. They went straight on down to a communist model. But guess what they had? Single government. They had a single world government. And it wasn't run by Tesla. So Tesla and Digitech did not come together and knock that out. Exactly. Yeah. And they read in 1984. I'm from 83. So I know, like, we used to read. We didn't just look at the pictures and flip through it. We read the comic books. We read the funny papers. We knew about what was called the funny papers, where you got the whole newspaper. You had the bad stuff on the front page. Then you had a couple pages in. You had stuff for mom with furnitures and flower pots and stuff. Then you had the sports. You knew when you were in the sports section, somebody crashed into somebody with a football helmet. Then you had real estate. You knew what was in real estate because they had a house in the middle of the picture somewhere. And then after that, you had the funny papers, which was one strip of comics on both sides sometimes, two strips folded together on some Sundays. And then you had depression. They made you laugh before the obituary. So kids would just go over there, grab the newspaper, flip through to like page 6 and take page 5 and 6 out, throw the rest of the paper on the table, leave that for mom and dad, and sit there and read comics all day. They had big words in there that kids didn't know. And we had to get a dictionary and go look that word up to learn how to pronounce it and learn how to say it and learn what the definition of it was so that we could find out what the joke was. We couldn't even make a laugh because we didn't know what the joke was because the words were so big. We had to improve our vocabulary to find the funny in the funny papers. Funny papers was more educational than the textbooks are nowadays. I got kids right now in the 7th and 8th grade that don't know quadratic equations. They don't know function manipulation. I've got college students right now that are getting their master's degree and actually don't know transitional formations. I just sat here for an hour before the show going over different differentials. I was doing it started with a D. It's the other D. It's the other D. I can't think of it. It's off the top of my head. So much math I had to do earlier. It wasn't fractions. I have to get all the F's out of the way. It was a D. Um, you have the function, and then you have the alternate version of the function. I can't think of it. Starts with a D. You know what I'm talking about. You went into computer science, but as soon as it pops in my head, I'll be like, exactly. But I had actually I think I did like a 30-page paper of notes because she has to do an exam. One of my students have to do an exam in the morning for this particular class, and her dad's trying to help her with it. And I said, dads are better parents, but people argue because dads are going to be like logic, reason, science, explosions, fun stuff. That dad is less likely to say, do as I say, not as I do. Dad is going to say, this is why you should do as I say, and get your behind whoop if you don't do it. That kind of stuff like that. But, either way, dad was over there trying to help out with the work. So I was like, bunches and bunches of math work. I think the student was supposed to be trying to learn about logarithms and limits. And I still can't think of that D. It was help me out, Beast. You did science. What's the when you have the f of x and then the f with the little asterisk there of x, where you have to modify the function where it goes from being x to the third to 3x to the 3x squared? I know you know. I know you know. I know you know. You know, like I know. You're gonna Google it, huh? You're gonna. He got old. We got old. Look, I'm gonna pull up the assignment. I'm gonna pull up the assignment. Function. No, no, not function. No, it's not function. It's not function. It's a concept. It's the manipulation of a function. Uh, it was differentiation, and with differentiation, we were dealing with derivative. That's the word. That's the word. I knew I was gonna get it. I knew I was gonna get it. Look, hey, if we don't know, if we don't know what we doing, if we don't know what we doing, we gotta ask a Google lady. Ask the Google woman; she'll tell you what you need to know. You ask the Google woman. She'll tell you everything that you need to know to to get and now Google got competition now. Google got competition now because a lot of people are starting to go ask Chat GTP all kind of questions. Uh, and then I had the best Calic teacher. Oh, I had Miss Hubert, Cynthia Hubert. She is one of the best. She used to teach at the community high school at Hillsborough Community College in Tampa, Florida. She was one of the excellent teachers. She's the reason why I got all the degrees that I got, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have made it into the 4-year institution. He'd be disappointed. I don't think so. I don't think so. You know, when we go to college with this false dream that we're going to be all kinds of greatness. The same way soldiers go into the military thinking that they're going to do so much good for their country. And then when we finish, we come back and we're like, man, what I went out there for is not what I got. I mean, at least they get pensions and benefits when they come back from the military, but we come out of college with debt and disappointment. Some of us get a job in the field that we got our degree in, but some of us get degrees thinking that that's going to get us the job, and that degree got nothing to do with the job. For example, I got a degree in microbiology thinking I'm going to be a pediatric surgeon. You know, microbiology is like geneticists. That's a research lab. That's not a surgery. That's not a hospital surgeon, you know? But I wasn't going to give up. I had already put in almost 200 credits. I'm like, I haven't changed my major. I'm not going to change it now. I, I got so many extra grants and scholarship because I was the only one 6 years into college and never changed the major. I was sitting there with I think it was like a 97 or 98% completion rating. First time attempts with, because I dropped a few classes. I wasn't going to get it bad. I kept my 3.75 GPA. I wasn't letting them knock me down below a 3.5. I got into my first fraternity. What was it? Phi Sigma Theta, right? He wasn't going to take my fraternity status. Only fraternity I got into was an honors fraternity. I got into a frat for being smart. Our frat parties were our frat parties was homework. Oh, ain't it though? What? Every word requires 20 of the 26 letters in the alphabet. Like, one of the things that I loved about my biology class was is not just because it made me seem smart. Really, I actually, funny thing, the only reason why I went and did microbiology because one of my best friends went and did biology. He got a bachelor's degree in biology. I said, I'm gonna be smarter than you. I'm gonna go do microbiology. Only difference between your class and my class is that my class has micro, and then I got like 8 genetics courses. You quit before the 8 genetics courses. That was it. But beyond that, I used to learn things like terms like diethyl ether, alcohol. So, like, I could do things like get pulled over by the cops and they'll, oh, where are you coming from? The lab. What were y'all doing? Synthesizing diethyl ether. Cops with little limited education. Oh, okay, you guys are college students. Bro, that is the same as saying mixing hooch in the lab, because diethyl ether is alcohol. Synthesizing diethyl ether is creating alcohol in a lab. Now, I mean, if I would have said methamphetamines, they would have like, step out of the car, sir. But because I said diethyl ether, they're like, oh, they're college students. You know, they're getting out of school late. But we learned how to take that diethyl ether, mix it with a couple of other hydroxides, and then ended up with like fragrances, perfumes, uh chloroform, like whatever we wanted to mix up, and we could leave the school with it. It was funny. So we didn't do anything bad with it. It was just the fact that we could have it. And then we're like, look, mom, look at what I got. What is that? Oh, it's diethyl ether chloroformate. What are you supposed to do with that? Sniff it. Now let's go to the club. That's kind of how things was back in college. I learned SC1 scone from Seals in Florida. Do you do a lot of diving, bro? I I'm gonna tell you something. You're gonna love this. You're scuba. Okay, I'm gonna tell you something. I thought that diving was gonna be the best thing possible until I fucked up and went to the Bahamas. Let me tell you what happened. So, see what had happened was we took this really awesome Caribbean cruise, a Carnival cruise ship. This is the one time that the ship didn't sink. There was no shootouts, and nobody got sick and got the whole ship contaminated. So we get out there by the Bahamas. We out there on one of the private islands, on I think it was Nassau Island, right before we went to Freeport. We're on one of the private islands, right next to the Senior Frogs. We get out there, we go to the beach, we decide we're gonna go scuba diving. So I'm scuba diving. I'm thinking, yeah, this is awesome. I'm under the water. And then I see the little fish. And I'm like, oh, it's cute. I'm gonna go pet the fish. Here, fishy, fishy, fishy. And I'm swimming at the fish, and the fish will look at me. I'll get close, and before I can grab it, it'll run away a little bit. And then I'll get close, and it'll look at me, and it'll run away a little bit. And it kept doing that. And then and it happened for a couple minutes. And then all of a sudden, I could hear somebody scream, "Run! Run! Barracuda!" I'm like, what the fuck? I look, big old monster barracuda down the way. That little bastard was drawing me in. I said, I am not scuba diving for nothing. I got back to shore. I drank me 3 bottles of Kalik. I said, no, I am not going in the water no more. I don't know how the seals do it. They're out there playing with the fishies and everything's okay. I go out there playing with the fishies. Dang fishies are working together to try to eat me. I ain't going back out there. They lost their dang mind. Shoot. Now I don't even put my foot in the swimming pool. I got PTSD. I lost the goggles. I lost the snorkels. I had the little flippy floppy thingies. I didn't even take them with me neither. They ended up on a beach somewhere. I'm like, screw this. I ain't even trying to. And she's like, well, at least you had fun until you almost got eaten. That's some stuff that the girlfriend would say. At least you had fun until you almost got eaten. Your homeboy would have been like, they almost got you. You know, she gonna try to make you feel bad. I mean, good about a bad situation. At least you had fun until you almost got eaten. At least everything was good until I almost died. I mean, sacrifices we make. I would be a martyr on the beach because I got my barracuda right before they bit my behind. Be like, what's the name? Crocodile Dundee. I'm gonna go tickle his balls. Yeah, he survived that. He went over there messing with that stingray and got stung, and that was the end of it. He wasn't stinging nothing else. He wasn't over there tickling nothing else. He was. He did better messing with the crocodiles. Went out there and messing with that stingray. That was the last stingray he messed with. And you know what? I strongly believe that was a setup. I believe that was a setup. And you know why? You know why? Because animals watch TV too. I bet them Stingray was like Finding Nemo talking about something. Here he come. That's the one. That's the one that be over there playing with folks. I'ma get him. I'ma get him with my stinger. Watch this. Come on, come over here. Come play with mine. Slap. I'll just say it. Like they talk about when animals attack, they coming back for revenge. They don't forget you beat they behind one time 10 years ago. Now you got this gazelle in your backyard. You don't know what they doing back there. The karate kung fu chopped you. Look now, they got people. They got snakes in their house, thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna do something about it." Now you got more snakes in your house. You know they can smell revenge now. He did it. Look now. You used to have a pet skunk called Kitty. Yeah, here, kitty, kitty. I knew it was a skunk too. I knew it was a skunk too. Because when people used to make me mad, I turn him around. He'll face me. I turn him around, and where his butt's facing them, and I'd be like, "Get him, kitty!" And I'll pull his tail. That's right, kitty. Stink him up. Ah. Ah, that's some fun reminiscing right there. Oh boy. Fun night. Have a great week. You crack me up. Hey, look, I appreciate you coming to the show. I appreciate you coming to the show. You know, we're here every night of the week, 7 nights of the week. We're always talking about something different. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we was talking about money. We was talking about ways to make and save. We was talking about ways to get past some loans and stuff. I do got some types of relationship based conversations. I got your show in the works. You told me about bringing those statistics. Don't think I forgot. I put it into the lineup, so it's going to come up in order. And one day we're going to be sitting over here talking about the divorce rate and men's benefit from that divorce rate. You asked, I deliver. That's how I am. So it's in the lineup on the YouTube platform. So you can always go and check the scheduling for that particular episode. Hit the notification button, and as soon as we go live, it'll remind you that that show is on the air, so that you can see all them facts that I was talking about from before. But besides that, I got a couple guest stars I'm trying to bring up onto the show coming up soon. We've got a writer that aids people with writing papers and doing dissertations and stuff like that. I'm trying to see when I can get that person up. The relationship coach with the dating advice. I'm trying to see when I can get her to come up. And then we have a couple of other project owners. And I just got some new product in. I did not get a chance to even do the box opening of it. So I was supposed to do the box opening video first, post it up online like they want me to, and then show you guys on a live podcast. So I'm gonna start doing that tomorrow so that I can bring it to the show tomorrow night and talk to you guys about some of the stuff that they mailed me. So you guys get to see some of the nifty things and this stuff came from Nordstrom's. So one of the e-commerce owners that has their online store at Nordstrom's had mailed me some cosmetic stuff. I'm like, boss. So I still have to call somebody about some jewelry. I got set up a couple of lineups to get a few people in there. So I'm gonna be working on a lot of the stuff tomorrow. So you should see a lot of different shows scheduled. That's why we don't have as many scheduled as before, because we was having like a 30-day rollout, and then I had to start trying to make room to schedule people on the show so that I could get people to participate on the show, get a bunch of guests up here. So keep an eye out for the listings as they progress throughout the month of November, because we're going to start having more and more guests coming up onto the show, talking about their services, talking about their products, talking about their likes and dislikes. And I'm going to show you all the nice stuff that I get from those people, in addition to them coming up onto the show and talking about it. You missed last Monday. We had the CPA on here. He was on here for like 2 hours and 35 minutes talking about everything under the sun from the 70s and his Republican opinions and taxes. So that's a good thing to do, to just go back and take a look at that show. And yeah, So just keep an eye out for the things that we got going on, because we got something going on every day of the week. We got a couple of these kids keep jumping in here. They learning something new every day, so I really appreciate them coming in. So Bricko Mode and his buddy coming in, TB Fireball. Those guys have been coming in for the past week, jumping in, and they were talking about pro skaters and everything like that. So I encourage you guys to come in and watch as I educate the youngins, because it's a excuse me podcast for the adults. But I mean, if the kids want to learn some stuff while you're here, learn some stuff while you're here. You know, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign out of TikTok first, because TikTok is not being funny. Now, I had somebody tell me that TikTok is actually supposed to stick around, even though the ban has been banned in 10 of the states of the United States, and people are like, "Oh yeah, because Donald Trump uses TikTok, TikTok is gonna stay around." I'm like, "Is it really?" Because when somebody says that we're going to do something and nobody does anything, I'm like, yeah, it's possible that it could be overturned. But when somebody says that we're going to do something and then the United States government, 10 states in the United States starts doing it, that's when you start saying, hold up, hold up, hold up. Because that's like 1/5 of the population right there. That's like, nah, we're not going to let this go on anymore. So it's different from when New York said, "Oh, we're going to ban body armor usage," but they actually banned limited body armor usage. So there is the ability for you to have body armor um, as a innocent civilian, but the law prefers that you have body armor for work-related purposes, where you have the type of occupation that requires you to wear body armor. The occupation doesn't require you to be on duty at the time. Now, funny thing is, before I walk off the show today, I just wanted to say, if you start up a security company and you go get the proper licensing, which is a lot of money to spend to do stuff that the law says that they prefer most people not do. But if you did that, you're the owner of a private security company or a private investigation company. You don't necessarily have to be on a job. You could be on your way to work or on your way from work. You don't have to tell them where work is. You just gotta, it's work related. I'm a private security guard. We get shot at for a living, so I wear body armor for a living. As a result, they can't take your body armor. But anybody else who just decides that they want to wear body armor because it's a nice fashion statement, they might get into a little bit of trouble in New York. But that's the only state that did it. The other 49 states don't have that. When 10 states start saying, nah, we're not going to let this happen, that's when you start having a problem. But if the red team comes into office and says, no, that is part of your constitutional rights, you are entitled to have that, New York might repeal that. But New York is the only state that done that. So until 5 or 10 or 12 other states say, yeah, we're also going to ban body armor, I would start buying 2 or 3 of them a year until I can't afford to buy anymore. But and then rock them, because you can own them in banned states and wear them in banned states, even if they're not able to be bought or sold in those banned states, because it's a form of self-defense. Which means that if you want one and you live in a banned state, you have to go to an unbanned state, buy it, and bring it back, because they have not outlawed the possession of it. They have outlawed the sale and purchase of it in some areas, or restricted the sale and purchase of it in some areas. And New York is being a little bit of a stickler as to the wearing of it, but they got to catch you wearing it. So if you've got like one of those big old bulky, it looks like body armor type body armors, yeah, they're going to come ask you questions with no excuses. But if you have like a slim fit, it kind of looks like this vest, but it's really actually body armor kind of thing, where it's like hidden body armor, mass body armor. You're wearing like one of those 3-piece suits, um I can't remember those boys' names. Uh I can't remember their names right now. So normally when I talk, I talk about people in suits. I know them off the top of my head, because they're like the only boys that wear the pinstripe suits outside of the mafia. It's from this one, the Shelby brothers. That's what it is. Uh, when you're dressing like those guys, they can't really tell from afar that it is actually body armor. Nobody's going to even walk up and talk to you about it. And you would only have to deal with the consequences of wearing one after you got shot and they tried to take the shirt off and realize that's body armor and you lived from being shot. And as long as you didn't get shot after being accused of a crime, you don't got to worry about any felonies. But because law dictates that if you are in the commission of a crime or being accused of being a commission of a crime while wearing body armor, then you could end up with felony level charges in addition to whatever you got charged with. Now, funny thing about body armor is that reckless operation and careless operation is a felony offense. So there are some criminal level moving violations in a car. And if you're wearing body armor while you are committing that moving violation, they can give you a additional felony for wearing a body armor while in the commission of a felony. So you got to be careful what you do and how you do it while you're wearing body armor if you're going to wear body armor on a regular basis. But if you're not doing nothing wrong, or if you own one of them $30,000 Teslas that drive itself, where you're not going to be responsible for what the car does, you can only get a ticket for what the car's uh, not supposed to do as the owner of the vehicle, but you didn't operate it. So you cannot get operational infractions because you didn't operate it. You were just in it when it happened. So they can't give the passenger of a car a moving violation. They can give the owner of the car a moving violation or the operator of the car a moving violation, but they cannot give the owner of the car felony charges for the car's unlawful actions on a road. If the owner of the car wasn't operating the car, they can only give the owner of the car the fines related to the vehicle's actions, because the owner of the car is responsible for the car's actions even when the car is in the possession of someone else. So either the person who did it pays a fine or the owner of the car pays a fine, but the person who did it can go to jail for it. The owner of the car can't go to jail for it unless the owner of the car condoned the behavior, which is a whole nother barrel of marbles. So just remember, you guys, I'm supposed to try to be here around 8 o'clock. Sometimes I start a little bit later. I'm glad I started a little bit late today because, we was able to get El Beast in here, one of our awesome P. I got to put you up on the list of fans that I really appreciate coming to the show. I keep forgetting that. El Beast and Omni 81 and Red Void is up there. I'm gonna make sure that you guys are up there on my top favorites. I really appreciate my fans. So when we're throwing that list up there of all the fans that show us love on a regular basis, I want to make sure that y'all are up there. Usually in numerical order, but the order has kind of laxed a little bit. So I'm gonna do some adjustments on it tomorrow because I gotta take a nap now. I've been up since yesterday, doing work with all these kids. So I really appreciate you guys coming to this and that. Before I sign out, I'm gonna say it every time, ladies. As long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm gonna keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And I appreciate you guys coming to me from TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. I'll see y'all tomorrow.